As we look back on 2024, there's no doubt one of the biggest stories of the year was the political season. Nationally, locally, and here in Sussex County specifically, there's no way to think about elections without thinking about Return Day. Coast TV's Madeline Overturf shows us the unknown history of what I'd venture to say is Delaware's most unique tradition.
The pomp and circumstance of a parade.
Senator Dave Wilson.
Feelings of a festival. But the circumstances are anything but ordinary.
Wow, the governor's cabinet?
Politicians ride in horse-drawn carriages and cars with their opponents. A hatchet is literally buried, signifying the end of the political season. It's an event that dates back nearly 250 years, and you'll only find it in Sussex County. Return Day.
Let's go back to 1812.
James Madison was president. The War of 1812 raged just 16 miles away on the Delaware coast, and Americans, only 30 years since independence, cast their ballots in Georgetown, Delaware.
The start of Return Day was if you voted, you came to Georgetown to vote. You had to come back to Georgetown 2 days later because it wasn't mechanized, it was hand-counted votes. You come back 2 days later to return to Georgetown to hear the returns of the election.
Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, 214,184.
That tradition, the same today as it was in 1812. Winners and losers, results cried out for all to hear.
Claire Snyder Hall, 9,630.
Those same winners and losers sit side by side in horse-drawn carriages. Nowadays, more so cars.
Recent elections haven't been as friendly, but we still require both parties to come together, and, at least for this one day, to make amends.
But the parade? That's only a small part of what was and still is, quite frankly, a party.
The populace started saying, well, wait a minute, instead of riding in a wagon 2 days back to Georgetown, why not stay in Georgetown? So they started having all kinds of street vendors, and they were selling possum, ox. Beer was another popular item. There's a famous quote from John M. Clayton, who was a Supreme Court Justice, a United States Senator, but he also was United States Ambassador for Zachary Taylor's presidency. He made a quote that if you had seen the three most wondrous things in the world, you've been to Dagsboro for a political meeting, you've been to Paris, France, and you've been to Return Day.
Hear ye, hear ye.
So I think that says it all, that it was quite a spectacle back in the day.
Return Day even got its own soundtrack, a song for the bicentennial published. And the event has only paused for World War II and the COVID-19 pandemic.
Georgetown's biggest fall event canceled.
Return Day has attracted some pretty famous attendees.
Senator Harper.
The man who took this photograph of Return Day for Life magazine also took this one. And the most famous Return Day attendee, none other than President Joe Biden.
From the very first one all through his vice presidency.
I've loved Return Day for as long as I can remember.
Return Day President Debbie Jones calls the day,
It's one of a kind. I would say a very emotional type of experience, but fun.
Jones says it really is a family affair.
You know, you see people bring out their newborn babies to be to their first Return Day. And I think everybody is proud to be a part of that community that does that.
From the young to the young at heart.
I've been coming my whole life.
Thousands of people surround the circle for what feels like a page out of a history book come to life.
5,241.
Hopefully, not much has changed because we want to keep the traditions alive.
And alive they are. Volunteers spend the better part of a day roasting and carving up an ox.
You know, they didn't have any cars or any kind of a tractor on the farm. A lot of them have ox. So they drove oxen up here, and then he butchered them, and that's when he started serving sandwiches.
It's not return day if you don't have an ox sandwich.
The current town crier, Kirk Lawson, reads the returns of the election each year,
In Georgetown.
taking over the gig from his uncle, Ronnie.
To know him, he's a man of few words, and he's pretty direct.
Of the Superior Court of the State of Delaware and
Certified the following election returns.
So it was pretty much speak clearly and don't show any favoritism. And that was about it. And I tried to do that.
All right, for the political folks, we have a lid.
And the hatchet still buried.
This hatchet is buried in sand from Lewis Beach, which was the county seat of Sussex County. And those with the Historical Society say they've used this hatchet for many, many years. It's kind of a tradition in itself, just like the sand that's coming out of it.
The history continues. The Library of Congress named Return Day a local legacy. Some attendees, like Sheriff Robert Lee,
We thank you all for coming.
dress in colonial garb.
I have talked to many people all across the country, and they say, "What is Return Day?" And when I explain to them, that's when we all get together, and they say that's an unbelievable experience.
In this day and age, it almost does feel unbelievable to see bitter rivals laugh and smile. A hatchet buried, and just for one day, being not a Democrat or Republican, but American, and that's cherished.
It's really kind of refreshing that once all of it is all over, that we can still turn and look at one another and go, yeah, no, you're still my buddy.
All of the United States needs to follow those practices. Bipartisanship, loving your community, reaching out that hand to support one another. And I think the healing process needs to be done everywhere.
As the world seems to get louder, Delawareans take pause to return and reflect on what truly matters for the future of our area and our country. In Georgetown, I'm Madeline Overturf, Coast TV News.